Hello, everybody. Welcome. Full moon meditation. You get to see my face on full moon. We actually just finished a 2-hour meditation before this. So I'm getting an overdose of meditation. Thanks to all of you. So let's check who all I hear today. So welcome. Gabriella is here. Saloni is here. Vinayak. Ratul. Vinayak is like the first one to log in every day. Vinayak and a few others. Eric, good to see you. You have some impromptu music to share with us? Don't know, maybe. All right. And Hira, not bad. Round 2. I thought it's too late for you. No? All right. So good to see you all. Welcome. If you're joining for the first time, then welcome. I don't know what else to say. You never know what's going to happen. I don't plan these sessions. In fact, I think these full moon sessions are actually the easiest because just have to align yourself to the full moon. How do you align yourself? You just have a sense that there is such a thing as a full moon and it is helping me come to my fullness. That's all you have to do. And whatever needs to happen will happen in the right way. Something I decided, what was the first meditation? I actually have a group that's been practicing with me it's a 9-month course. So that's the 2-hour thing I had before this. Yeah, so we're coming to the end of that now. After 9 months, they'll be born and you'll see them. Right, so let's start with a minute of stillness. Just get quiet for a bit. And what's it like to feel your own present experience? And then feel a little deeper into it and see if it's possible to feel into the group energy. What's it like not only to be you, but what's it like to be we? What's it like to not only be me, but to be we? What's this we space? And just feel into that. And see if you can go even deeper. Feel what it's like to be me. Feel what it's like to be we. And also feel if there's anything about this particular night, this full moon night. Is there anything you can feel into the atmosphere? What's it like to be here on a full moon night? And even if some of you are in the part of the world where it's not night yet, doesn't matter. Just feel into this moment. I don't know if it's possible, but see if it's available to you to touch something that's really still, really quiet, really unmoving. Can you touch something deep inside of you, right at the center of you, that's just already at peace? Nothing needs to happen. It's already home. See if you can at least approach it, if not touch it. These sessions are a little hard to classify. It's a combination of things like meditation and reflection, some storytelling. Sometimes there's some interaction. It just goes in whatever direction it needs to. So may I be guided to speak from the silence, from the stillness. May you also listen from your silence, your stillness. No matter how I speak, sometime my way of speaking will be something that attracts you, or may even be something that actually distracts you. My choice of words, that is inevitable, that we all have a preference. Sometimes just the fact that I speak in English, some people would prefer I speak in Hindi. So there's no way of really pleasing everybody, but can you get in touch with something deeper that is beyond the metaphors and the words and the language? Can you receive what you need to receive from tonight's session? That is my intention. If anything needs to happen, it'll happen. And if nothing needs to happen, nothing will happen. We'll enjoy that as well. We're not caught up in any outcome. Can you allow yourself to, throughout the session, whatever length it'll go, to keep feeling into yourself, keep feeling into our group energy? It's no accident that this particular group has constellated right now. And feeling into this new moon energy, full moon energy rather. And every time I share something, I may share a story, an anecdote, an example. Notice what happens. Notice what happens within you. And instead of creating more thoughts, see if you can move in the direction of experience, to feel deeply. Sometimes I say something, it'll make you feel very deeply. So feel deeply, and maybe you'll not feel much, and that's fine. Whatever is happening is just fine. And of course, in these times, people are sometimes a little more stressed than usual. And sometimes there's unprocessed grief, and there's uncertainty, and there's worry. There's so many unanswered questions. So may our togetherness and the power of our collective practice be like a soothing balm for you. And may you find the resolution you're seeking in your own heart. And may, by the end of the session, and in fact, throughout the session, starting from right now, you progressively feel more in touch with yourself, more in tune with yourself, closer to your most natural, uncontrived self. natural self. You're not trying to be anything, not trying to hide anything, just being simple, clean, non-obstructed, unwrinkled. And if you have any further intentions in addition to what I've said, then get in touch with those intentions. Feel the power of those intentions. Feel as though they are already so, already so. Beautiful. You can continue to have, if your eyes are closed, if you want to keep them closed, that's fine. If you want to open them, that's fine. Just be comfortable, be natural. Your video can be on or off, whatever's comfortable. Eric, at some point, I'd love for you to play something so you can start thinking about it. Just see what's coming for you. We have a very gifted musician here, Eric. So I'm remembering this experience where soon after I learned how to meditate, and I read some books about it. Then, in fact, I would say it was even before I learned to meditate. I had the sense of, I don't want to talk about shallow things. I only want to talk about profound things. I want to talk about deep things. Purpose of life, meaning of life, what is right, what is wrong, what is a good way to conduct ourselves, how can we be true, how can we be authentic. And while that's great, I began to notice in me a resistance to talking about anything else. So somebody would discuss cricket, for example, and say, what a shallow person, cricket, who cares, cricket, today this team wins, tomorrow that team wins, what's the big deal? Somebody wants to discuss, so like I actually noticed this judgment in myself. I felt certain topics were more worthy of discussion than other topics. And I would notice a tension in myself. If I was not able to steer the conversation in the direction I wanted, then either I'd feel disconnected or if I would indulge in whatever they were talking about, then I would feel I'm wasting my time. And sometimes these things happen, you don't even notice they're happening. It was only years later I realized how much tension I'm creating for myself. To always have to say profound things, very tough way to live your life. Everything has to be profound all the time. I mean, people can't just hang around with you. They have to say profound things all the time, to discuss something very profound. How are you feeling right now? No, really, how are you feeling? What's going on? So it took me a while to get out of that. And the sense that some things are more spiritual than other things. So if you're meditating, it's more spiritual than if you're just talking. if you're doing something to serve people or help people, that's more spiritual than if I'm just spending time doing something I enjoy. There's a nice teaching from, there's a bunch of teachers called Abraham, channeled by a lady called Esther Hicks. And she has a very nice concept. She says, what's the word she uses? Contrast. Yeah, contrast. She says, life is going to keep giving you all kinds of experiences. And they're neither inherently good nor inherently bad, but it creates contrast. So certain things will make you feel more expansive and certain things will make you feel more contracted. And instead of judging those things, it's just about you getting clear. It's contrast, right? So it's not like it's bad inherently, it's just contrast. So if I'm in an organization that expects me to work 2 to 3 hours more than I'm supposed to work. I mean, the official time is 9 to 6 or whatever, but actually it's 9 to 9. And if you leave at 6, people look at you like, what's wrong with you? Like, come on, it's only 6. Hey, but it's supposed to end at 6. No, that's just get the work done. And that's normal in that organization. And then something in you doesn't want that, because something in you wants to just go home and be with your family, but you're just lingering because that's what everyone does. You know? Now, according to the teachings of Abraham, that is not a good thing. It's not even a bad thing. It's just contrast. What is contrast? It's making you clear about what you want. What you don't want is making you clear about what you really want. So what do you really want? Like, for example, I don't know if you know this, but in the Vedas, it is considered strange if you work more than 4 hours a day. Really? You need to work more than 4 hours a day? I mean, 4 hours a day should be more than enough to take care of everything. The rest of the day is for family time and learning skills that you enjoy and your religious duties and being in nature and so many other things. Life is so rich, right? Work is important, but work is one part of life. All of life was seen as sacred. And we would often do things for the sake of doing things, not because what will I get from doing this, for the sake of doing it. So what a powerful model. That it's a powerful way to think. What would it take for me to rearrange my life? In fact, I often, when I teach in organizations, I say, how many productive hours do you actually have? It is rare when someone tells me they have more than 4 productive hours in a day. I mean, some of you work in organizations, you also ask yourself, how many really productive hours do you have in a day? Chances are it's not that many. I mean, sometimes you put in even 2 solid hours, that's a lot. So these are very good questions to ask ourselves. And this is coming from contrast. This is coming from, could there be a better way? Is this the only way we have to do it? Like, I'll give you one example of contrast. I used to live in Utah, and Utah, the beautiful state in the US. And they have a very strong Mormon culture. Mormonism is a form of Christianity, Church of Latter-day Saints. One thing very beautiful about Mormonism is their sense of community, very strong family values, community values. In fact, in their religion, they believe that your family unit is something that survives into the afterlife. So if your family unit can remain intact, mother, father, husband, wife, kids, you are in the afterlife, you have the family unit is incredibly important in Mormonism. So as a result, a lot of emphasis is placed on community and family. So it is almost mandated that you will have a room in the house dedicated to games, because families must have fun. So it is expected. In fact, we used to joke that the best place you can ever be, if there was a pandemic or if there was a major, whatever, think of any major disaster, maybe the power grid failed or whatever, big hurricane or whatever. The best place to be is actually Utah or some of the other Mormon states. Why? Because they're mandated by their religion to be prepared for 3 to 6 months ahead. If everything stops, if you can't go to the supermarket, you should have, so most Mormon homes, even the homes that I've stayed in, they have a special room that's built like a fort to keep the stockpile of up to 3 to 6 months ahead, provisions. So the best place to be would be in Utah, because they're ready for the next 6 months. So anyway, so here example of contrast is those game nights. I found them really boring. I found the games really boring. I said, come on, do we have to play these games? So then that forced me to go after a few weekends like this. I said, I'm not enjoying this. So then I went online and said, are there better board games? And I suddenly discovered a whole new world called hobby games, hobby board games. Like we've all played the normal board games, the Monopolies and the Snakes and Ladders and the Risk and all of that we've played. But did you know that there are over 110, 15,000 new games that have come out in the last 15, 20 years? Most people don't know this. So I accidentally stumbled into the subculture. And now that's a big hobby of mine. So it took an unpleasant experience for contrast to happen, for me to start asking, could there be a better way? Could there be a better game? The first game I remember ordering is a game called believe it or not, the game's called Pandemic. Should I call it a pandemic? I don't know. The game is actually called Pandemic. It's a cooperative game. I never played a cooperative game before. Cooperative game is you're playing against the game. All the players, one reason people don't like board games is you start fighting with each other. But in this game, you're playing against the game. The game is creating viruses across the world. And you're a team of experts who's trying to control the contamination and spread of viruses. And if by the end of the game you can control or cure the diseases, then you're fine. And if it spreads out of control, and it's very similar to what's actually happening. Like it goes from one country to the next. And if you don't control it quickly, then it goes from that to the next, all the neighboring countries. Guys, it keeps spreading like that. You got to be very quick. Oh, here, this place is getting out of control. You better go and control it. Better go and contain it. So when I got that game, we ended up playing it. Literally, we ended up playing it for almost 12 hours straight. 12 hours. Of course, we took short breaks in between. So that initiated me into board games. So the point I'm trying to make is contrast, right? Not getting what you like is not always a bad thing. If you can, instead of resisting it, you can ask yourself, all right, this is what I don't want. So then what is it that I really want? This can be a launching pad. I have a friend who, I don't know, some of you might have heard her. I've invited her sometimes. Her name is Shruti. And she sings. She sings Kabir Dohas. Shruti Vishwanathan, I think. Yeah, something like that. So her story is that from childhood, she was a very gifted singer. And she was trained in Indian classical music, both the Hindustani and Carnatic styles. And not only that, she was very good in academics. So she went to, I think, BITS Pilani or something, like one of the good engineering colleges. And she was doing very well, and she was up and coming star in the Indian classical scene. And one day, she goes to listen to a person who is singing Kabir Dohas. Some of you may have heard of him, Prahlad Tippania, I think his name is. Beautiful Kabir Dohas. As she's listening to him, she's a trained classical musician, and she's listening to him. She can notice slight mistakes he's making in the way he's singing. But it doesn't matter. Because the way he's singing, it is touching her heart like nothing has touched her heart for years. Really? Is it Kabirji's birthday today? That's amazing. So Kabirji has come to us. How amazing. In fact, I did not even know that. I was just looking up earlier today. I was remembering Kabir and I was Googling about how he died. Did you know that he chose to die in a place which was considered cursed? He was from Kashi. So Kashi is one of the most sacred places in India. People go to die in Kashi. And there was another town, I'm forgetting the name of something with M. So there was another town which was considered a cursed town. And the Purohits or the Pandits of those times, they said, if you die there, you're going to go to hell or you'll be born as a donkey. Only two options. Either you go to hell or you're born as a donkey. There you go. Maghar, Maghar, there you go. Right, Maghar. So Kabir said, then I will die there. He chose to go to die. He was living in Kashi, the most sacred place of all to die. All Hindus go to die in Kashi. And so Kabir said that, oh, if it's so easy, then why do you have to pray? Just make sure you have an appointment in Kashi. In fact, there are death hostels. I don't know if you've been to Kashi. In Varanasi, they have death hostels. This is the place where you check in to check out. The real checkout happens here. You check in to check out. In fact, they get impatient with you if you last for more than 2 weeks. They'll say, "Kya ho raha hai bhaiya? Are you guys really going to die, or are you just coming here to stay?" Because there's a lot of demand for this hotel. So literally, there are places, Eric, believe it or not, there are places in India where people check in to check out. Right. So anyway, how fascinating that I was Googling Kabirji today, and how there was a conflict about who would get what they would do with his body. He had said not to disturb his body overnight. And the Hindus and the Muslim disciples, they couldn't decide. Are we going to cremate him? Are we going to bury him? There was a disagreement. So in the morning when they opened his shroud, his body had been replaced with flowers. That's the story. And then half the flowers they cremated, half the flowers they buried. So anyway, so Shruti was listening to Prahlad Tipaniaji, and she began crying. And she realized what had been missing. Classical music had become so formal and so caught up in technique that it had lost the heart. May not be for everybody, but for her, that was her experience. So that's when it was a big shift, that contrast, right? In that moment, she can see that his technique is not flawless. He's making some small mistakes. He may not be the world's best singer. But the bhav, or the spirit from which he's singing, you cannot fault that. You should look him up. Prahlad Tipaniaji has a lot of videos on YouTube. And very beautifully he sings. You really feel the power of the Kabir Dohas. So this is what she does now. She sings, and whenever I bring her on, people are so moved. They're often moved to tears when she sings. She sings with such power. So even unpleasant experiences, unwanted experiences, if you learn to see them as contrast, this is helping me get clear about what I really want. Are you going to give attention to what you really want? Are you going to keep on staying in a complaining mode? Don't like, don't want. Why is it happening? Poor me. So all of these things are coming as an invitation. And this can get really, really subtle. More and more and more subtle. For some time now, for me, wisdom, what we call wisdom, is simply a unwillingness to tolerate suffering, actually. Suffering is the optional part, See, there will be some discomfort in life. Can't get away from that. But suffering is the extra layer that we add to it through our resistance. There's this famous show, some of you must have watched it. I think one of the streaming platforms about Indian matchmaker. And there's this lady helping people get married, or at least she's trying. It's not really working. She's trying to pair all these people, and they all have their own demands. A whole arranged marriage thing. And one thing she says again and again is, you have to compromise. You have to compromise. How will it happen if you don't compromise? She says it so many times. And every time she says that, I would feel like a cringing feeling inside of myself. Oh God, what is she? I don't know about you guys. If you felt that she was saying something very profound, I always felt this cringe-worthy feeling. Oh my God, now we have to compromise. Have to compromise. Maybe there's some truth to it. Why not? But the thing is, maybe we compromise too much. Maybe we compromise too easily. There's a beautiful quote that the gift of the West is to make things better. The gift of the East is to accept things the way they are. The gift of the West is to make things better. The gift of the East is to accept things the way they are. But you see, any gift by itself becomes a curse. So the Eastern tradition, most of us are in India, we tend to accept things more. But that becomes a curse, you see. Sometimes you have to also make things better. And the West always trying to make things better, then that also there's no end to that. You get very restless. A great example is a perfectly good phone that's working. And overnight, there'll be a software update. And now it's become very slow. Why? Because they want you to buy a new phone. And they'll not let you change the battery very easily. Now, this is an example of unnecessarily trying to make things better. Perfectly good functioning phone. But they will not let you have it for more than 3-4 years. They'll make sure that it gets so slow and unworkable. That's an example of too much trying to make things better. When is good enough, good enough? It's okay. You can improve, but addiction to improvement also becomes a problem. So my teacher was asked about what was his mind like? And he gave a very fascinating answer. They asked him, what is Ajahn Chah, what is your mind like? So he said, still flowing water. My mind is still flowing water. Can you just try to visualize that for a moment? So it's not just still water. Still water would be like a lake. It's not just flowing water. Flowing water would be like a river. This is still flowing water. Can you visualize that for a moment? Still and flowing at the same time. What does it feel like to visualize still flowing water? And again, get in touch with those 3 levels. What's it like to be me? By me, I mean you. What's it like to be me? What's it like to be we? And what's it like to be together on this full moon night? Get in touch with those 3 levels. Still flowing water. Here's a question for all of you. On the last day of your life, whenever that is, what are you likely to regret not doing more of? What are you likely to regret not, you can say doing more of, or practicing more of, or being more of is also fine. On the last day of your life, when you know it's the last day of your life, what, if anything, and maybe it's nothing, that's great, good for you. What, if anything, might you regret not doing or being or practicing more of? See what answer comes. If you feel like answering in the chat, you can. Traveling, all right. Spending more time with the family, but having spent more time for work and service. Yeah. Not being in touch with the moment. Nothing, all right. Charity, not laughing enough. Dancing and putting myself out there. Publishing my poetry. Yeah. I'm already at peace, very good. Having more fun, laughing more, spontaneity, being aware of my breath. We have a non-PG answer as well, which is very nice. Active social service. Spending time with self, being calm, social working, living to the fullest. Last day or last breath will be in perfect alignment, content and purposeful, no regrets, felt for the first time. Expose myself, my energy, world travel, not eating enough mangoes. Well, make up for it. I think there's still some mangoes, a little bit of mango season is still left. Practicing more fearlessness, enjoying everything. Very nice. Good. And what's it like to reflect on what's it how wonderful. What's it like to when you heard about this phrase, still flowing water, what came up? Not possible, moving inwards. The serene sound of water flowing gently. Mansarovar Lake. There was confusion. Deep ocean still outside and flowing on the inside. There was a pause between the ripples. Beautiful. You wondered if it's possible for me. Yeah. You thought of the Penta Sahib Gurdwara. That's amazing. It's interesting that the four important places, they talk about four, in the Buddhist tradition, they talk about four important places of your life. Four places of significance. First place is where you first, where you were born. That's supposed to be a significant place in your life. The place you were born is one significant place of your life. Second significant place of your life is where you first came across teachings which pointed you back towards yourself. Otherwise, you get extroverted, right? When did you first receive the most important teachings that made you look within and realize, wow, there's also an inner world, there's an inner dimension. And there is a world of awareness that's also important. Where did that first happen? So that's a significant place. The first time you heard the Dharma, teachings that guided you back to your truth. Second important place of your life. Third important place of your life, where it went beyond theoretical knowledge and you had a first proper taste. The first deep, proper taste of what it's like to be you without all the stories you've been told about you. That's the third important place of your life. And the fourth, and I hope it happens, is when you're fully quenched. The place where you're fully quenched, where there's no thirst remaining. What was, Magdalena, what was that Rumi quote you liked, you were talking about earlier today? You want to repeat it for us? Just unmute yourself.
Yes. It's just sit here and rest, for your separation from God is the hardest thing in the world.
Say it again.
Just sit here and rest. Don't do a thing, just rest. For your separation from God is the hardest thing in the world.
Beautiful. So 4 important places of your life: where you were born, where you first heard the teachings, where you first experienced the teachings, and where you got a nice dose quenched. And why are these 4 places important? Because the Buddha says all 4 are actually very precious. Some of you may have heard me talk about this before. There's a word in Pali language called dullabo. Dullabo means rare, exceedingly unlikely. So what is rare? To have human birth is rare. You know, I don't know how many of you still have any lingering grudges about your parents, for your parents, but the Buddha gives something. There's one teaching from the Buddha that, at least for me, it wiped out any grudges I may have ever had. This is what the Buddha says. If you were born with a reasonably functioning body and mind, hands and legs are functioning, toes and fingers are functioning, main organs are functioning, right? If you were born with your faculties more or less intact, the Buddha says this is enough for you to be grateful to your parents for the rest of your life. Now, they may have abandoned you an hour after being born. They may have left you in the corner and said, I don't want this child. The Buddha says, no. The fact that they've given you a functioning body and mind, this is enough for you to be grateful to your parents for the rest of your life. Worship your parents for the rest of your life. What a powerful teaching. He says, dullabo. It is a great privilege. It is a great rare thing. So at least for me, when I heard that, any lingering grudges out of my parents could have done this, all that was gone. It's okay. Just the fact that if I've been given a body and mind that functions, that is it. So, oh, they treated my elder brother better, sister better. They did more for him, less for me. Our father was a drunkard. We had left our family. Buddha says, no, that's all extra stuff, Not a requirement. It's not a requirement for your happiness. Today we are celebrating Kabir. If you know Kabir's story, his parents are unknown. He was found on a river. He was found by a fisherman, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't it? Those of you who know Kabir's story? Yeah, he was, right? In fact, I remember going to the ghat in Varanasi. There's a particular ghat where there's a small temple to commemorate the exact place where Kabir was found. Yeah. There's a place there. And now that place is the Krishnamurti Foundation. That's where the Krishnamurti Foundation is there in Varanasi. And that's where this basket, so his parents are unknown. Somebody abandoned him. If someone who abandoned him, Rajghat, that's right. At Rajghat, he was found. And went on to become one of the greatest saints. So dullabho, exceedingly rare and precious. To be born as a human being is exceedingly rare and precious. To come across teachings, you see, there are many teachings about how to earn more and how to, look better. And these teachings have always been there, but there are very few teachings which point you back to your own source. And the way to distinguish, the Buddha gives actually a way to distinguish any field of knowledge that just goes on opening more and more and more and more and more. Right? The Buddha said that will not quench you. Why? Because it'll keep, no matter how much you learn, there's more to learn. But hear the powerful story. Once the Buddha was with some monks and he picked up a handful of leaves. And he asked a very strange question. Monks, what is more? The leaves in my palm or the leaves in this great forest? Mahavana, great forest. What is more? The leaves in my palm or the leaves in this great forest? And the monk says, Lord, what are you talking about? I mean, there's no question. The leaves in your hand are few. The leaves in this forest are uncountable. I mean, even one tree we can't count. What to speak of the entire forest? It is uncountable. And the Buddha smiled and said, just so, monks. What I have realized through direct knowledge is like the leaves in the forest. But what I teach you is like the leaves in my hand. And it's not because I'm trying to hide that knowledge from you, because this is enough for you to realize that. How powerful is this? This is enough. The first meditation instruction in Buddhism, you can become a monk pretty young. You can be a novice monk. You have to be old enough to chase away a crow. Crows and ravens, they don't get easily intimidated. So if it's a very small child, the crow will be, you do what you like, nothing will happen. But you have to be old enough to intimidate a crow, which is about 6-7 years old. By the time you're 6-7 years old, the crow will run away. Below that, he'll not care. He'll only peck you. So you have to be old enough to chase a crow. And you're eligible to be a monk, a novice monk, samanera. What is the meditation object given to a samanera? Kesa, loma, nakha, danta, tacho. Kesa means hair of the head. There's the reason why I'm having long hair these days. Meditation object is bigger. Kesa, hair of the head. Loma, hair of the body. I don't have too much hair of the body, which is why I compensate with hair of the head. So hair on the head, kesa. Loma, hair on the body. Nakha, nails. Nakha. Nails. Danta, teeth. And tacho, skin. Kesa, loma, nakha, danta, tacho. Tacho, danta, nakha, loma, kesa. Forward, backward. Kesa, loma, nakha, danta, tacho. Tacho, danta, nakha, loma, kesa. This is the meditation object given to a novice monk. Actually, any monk, even if no matter when you ordain, this is the first meditation object given to you. And why is this particular object of meditation given to you? According to the Buddha, this is enough for you to get fully enlightened. You can become a fully enlightened arahant if you just get these 5. In fact, one of my teachers, for the first 6 years of his practice, all he meditated on was tacho, skin. His meditation object was skin. And we asked him, why skin of all the things? He says, skin is where the ignorance is. Skin is where you say, inside this is me, outside this is the world. This is the delusion. Inside this is me, outside this is the world. He says, skin is a very important one. And for 6 years, he meditated on skin. And that was his awakening. So the Buddha says, and think about it, when we praise people, such nice hair, such nice beard, such nice nail polish also is there. Your teeth, have you whitened them? They're very nice. And they're so shapely. And your skin, what cream are you using? I also want to put. No, I put a lot of sunscreen every day. Oh, very good. I should also do it. I keep forgetting. So this is all your beauty is based on these things. And it looks great when it's together. But the moment one strand of hair comes out, like, see, they were praising your hair. The whole night they were praising your hair. But they went to the bathroom and they found some of your hair in the shower and they got very upset. What is this? Why don't you clean up after yourself? The whole drain is covered with hair. But you were praising my hair a little while back. What happened? It looks good when it's attached. The moment it's detached, especially when it goes into the soup, it is a very it is a very unacceptable thing. Okay, so hair, same with all the other, like even an eyelash falls into some food, which is why, top chefs have to wear this fancy hat just to basically make sure their hair don't fall into anything. Right? And nails, what is more, what will make you more angry than you seeing cut nails lying somewhere? What is this, cut nails? So much superstition around nails. And teeth, maybe you're young, you're allowed to keep the tooth for one night. The tooth fairy will come. So one night you're allowed, then you got to throw it away. Piece of bone, throw it away. And skin. We complain about our, like I was just joking with a friend of mine. When I go to her house, she gets very upset with me if I reuse my towel. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal to reuse your towel. She's like, no, towel has to be changed every day. Why? Towel gets dirty. Towel gets dirty. Towel does not get dirty. Towel is innocent. Our body is dirty. Your clothes don't get dirty. Your clothes are actually very innocent. Your body is the one that's dirty. Why are you blaming your clothes? Nothing's wrong with your clothes. Your bed sheets don't get dirty. Your pillow cover does not get dirty. Right? Isn't it? So this is the ignorance. So this meditation object, this is the first meditation object given. Kesa, Loma, Nakha, Danta, Tacho. Tacho, Danta, Nakha, Loma, Kesa. In the beginning, it's just what they look like, but very quickly it goes beyond that. It goes into the elements. This is made up of earth element, water element, fire element, air element, space element. These are elements. You start experiencing your body as an amalgamation of elements. Did you drink water today? At what point was it water? And at what point did it become you? It's worth exploring. Yeah. Did you release water today? At what point did you release you? It was just water the whole time, right? Isn't it? It's just water. Eating food. Right now, as we are talking, someone somewhere is growing some rice or growing some corn or growing some vegetables, isn't it? And at some point, there'll be a convergence. 2 days from now, 1 month from now, 1 year from now. There'll be a convergence between what they're growing and it'll be on your plate. And then you'll pick it up, you'll put it in your mouth and you'll chew it. You'll ingest it. Now, at what point in this process has it become you? Now, is it you? When they bring it to the shop, is it you? When it's sold, is it you? When it's prepared, is it you? When it's on your plate, is it you? When it's in your mouth, is it you? When it's ingested, is it you? When it's digested, is it you? When it's eliminated, is it you? Which point is it? What is that point where it's you? If you look at it very carefully, there's no such point. It's just a continuum. You can't find such a point. So it's earth, water, fire, air, and space. So this is the first meditation object given to novice monks. And this is enough. So the Buddha says this is enough. So this is a complete teaching in itself. You don't actually need any other teaching. So the Buddha is giving you things. Of course, he has many teachings, but he says, my teachings are like the ocean. Why they like the ocean? Anywhere in the ocean you go, you take a handful of ocean water and you sip it. What do you get? You get a salty taste. So the taste of ocean water anywhere in the world, whether you go to the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean or any part of the ocean, doesn't matter. It may be a little worse around the Middle East because they do a lot of reverse osmosis. So it may be a little more salty there. But the rest of the world, salty is salty, right? So when you taste the water, it's salty. So the Buddha says, the taste of these teachings, it sets you free. If it's setting you free, then this is the teaching. Doesn't even matter if he's taught it or not. If it's setting you free, what is setting you free and what is binding you? So the Buddha is emphasizing the kind of knowledge that sets you free. It is a precious thing, dullabo. It is a rare thing. It is not a small thing to come across teachings like that. To come across teachings like that, and then to even have faith in teachings like that. See, we hear all kinds of things. Yeah, one more thing. But to have faith in teaching, it's a very tough hypnotic trance to break from the usual worldly values. We have these primate, like if you look at chimpanzees and orangutans and all, they have certain primate values. They want to dominate. And they want to be together and everything. But so it's like it's ingrained in us at a very deep level. So what is it like to acknowledge those primate and other instincts within us, but then also to be willing to look at ourselves as a process, not as a person, as a process. This is very beautiful. So just as your digestion is a process, this was the important shift for me when I realized, I'll give you a story behind this. One of our teachers. So I lived in a tradition, in fact, Buddhist monks in general, they don't eat after midday. I mean, some of them you'll see them eating because they don't follow the rules, but typically you're not allowed to eat after midday. There's a story behind that also. There was a time when you could eat at any time. So there was a woman who was drawing water from a well. And she saw this shadowy figure coming from behind. And she got really scared. And the earthen pot she had smashed. And she screamed. And she said, "Ghost, ghost." And the person said, "I'm not a ghost, sister. I'm a monk. I've come to get food." And she said, "What? At this unholy hour, you've come to get food? Why are you wandering around like this, scaring us women folk? And you've broken my pot also in the process. You spooked me." So he went and told the Buddha, and the Buddha said, "Very good. From now on, you will not go out after midday." That was the end of dinner for the monks. Well, I imagine he'd be really troubled after that. Because of him, the dinner ended. The one guy who spooked out the woman. So monks don't eat after midday. So one of our teachers had to go for he had some stomach issue. So he had to go for a scan. And so basically what they do is they make you have some liquid and then they scan it under this, whatever, nuclear medicine, whatever medicine, they scan your stomach, right? So that they see the swelling. Now, most of us are eating something or the other throughout the day. So no matter what time of the day you have that liquid, it's swelling. But because as a monk, and especially in my tradition, we only ate once a day. So the meal of the day was done at 8 o'clock in the morning. There's no other food. So by the time he went for the scan and he had that liquid and they're scanning him and the liquid is just sitting over there. It's not moving. And they're all very perplexed. First time they've seen liquid is just sitting there. It's not moving about. So she said, "Maybe we should give you something to eat." He said, "No, my rule as a monk, I can't eat anything after midday." The nurse is very smart. She says, "Describe your favorite food to me." So he began thinking. And as he began describing, the liquid began moving. How smart that nurse was. Just him thinking about his favorite food and describing it was enough for all the juices to start going. It's like, when I tell you to think of a lemon and then cut the lemon and then put it in your mouth and chew on it, already saliva starts forming in the mouth. That's the power of our imagination. So now I've lost the train of thought. I kind of went 2 levels deep. What was I saying before? Let me unmute somebody. Eric, do you remember? Who remembers? Put it in the chat otherwise. What was I saying? I was making some kind of point. I've muted all of you so you can't speak anything. Let me unmute. Who remembers what I was saying before the monk thing? Dullabo, the Buddha point. But what Buddha point was I making? It's gone. How wonderful. It'll come. So the teachings that take you home, yeah. I was listening too closely to remember. How wonderful. It's all right. Talking about the ocean. Yeah, talking about the ocean. That's right. Thanks. See, Instagram saved us. Zoom did not save us. Today, Instagram saved us. So the taste of the ocean is same anywhere in the ocean. You take a sip anywhere in the ocean, it's always going to taste salty. So the taste of these teachings, they set you free. They set you free. It'll lighten the load. So you check, is it expanding you or contracting you? Is it making you heavier or lighter? And not all that. Once in a while, sometimes even the truth will make you feel a little heavier in the beginning. But just stay with it and see what is the taste this has. So dullabo, it's rare, it is precious. It is precious to get human birth. It is precious to come in contact with these teachings. Having come in contact with these teachings, to have faith in the teachings. It is rare, it is unlikely. It doesn't happen to everybody. Having had faith in the teachings, to practice, how many things we have faith in? And then we don't practice. We come for a workshop, we get all energized. And then it's gone. Right? It happens so often, isn't it? So then how rare it is to then actually practice it and not just leave it at the level of inspiration. It's not a small thing. I've been offering these 10:30 sessions for a while now. And for those of you who don't know, every night at 10:30, we meet and we practice for about an hour or so. And by the way, I don't know how long Instagram allows me to do this. So I don't know if it'll cut off at some point. If it does, I'll restart it. Otherwise, you can join me on YouTube. So it is rare and precious to be inspired to practice what you've learned. So don't judge yourself so much. Sometimes we judge, oh, I should be practicing more or this or that. Remember, you're working with a lot of forces. You're working with your own habit patterns. You're working with ancestral habit patterns. Yeah, I remember the point I was making earlier. The point is, for me, it was a big shift to realize that the stomach, when you eat something, it starts secreting digestive juices, isn't it? That's an impersonal process. You eat something and it'll figure out, is it a fruit or is it a vegetable? Or of course, sometimes you'll confuse it by eating everything at once. Then it's figuring out, now what am I supposed to consume? How am I supposed to digest this stuff? So it knows how to digest. Based on the grains you have, the different enzymes will be produced to digest it. So it's a wonderful breakthrough to realize, just like your stomach, in contact with food, will secrete enzymes to digest the food, secrete various acids to digest the food. Your brain, in contact with sensory experience, will secrete thoughts. It's not your thoughts. It's just thoughts. We imagine them. It's like saying, my digestive juice. It's just digestive juice, right? So when they were scanning him, then he thought about food, and the nurse was so smart. She just made him think of food, and the swirling began. And so if I single one of you out and we spend the rest of tonight talking about how amazing you are, some of you will feel very strange. Some of you will feel very good. It'll do something to you, right? It'll do something. In most cases, if you spend time appreciating people, most cases, some people feel strange, but most people will feel uplifted. And if we spend time criticizing you and telling you everything we don't like about you, then it's quite predictable. You will feel quite upset and unhappy about that. So then where is your decision here? This is also like you put a fruit in, something is secreted. So then I put praise, something is secreted. I put blame, something is secreted. How are these your thoughts? Secretion that's happening. So this is the shift from I'm a person to I'm a presence. I'm a process. It's a really significant shift in our self-perception. It will not go away immediately, but it'll get more and more transparent, more and more perforated. You will access that more and more easily. And so this thought, why me? Why me? Hindi में कहेंगे मुझे क्यों होता है? Why just मुझे ही होता है? हमेशा मुझे होता है. I had a friend in school. He would tell me, I'm accident prone. And sure enough, he was really accident prone. Every few weeks, he'd have a new injury. I'm accident prone. Wow. Talk about a self-fulfilling prophecy. Why not say something like, I'm lucky, Why not say something like, in fact, they did research. I don't know if you know this, they did research where they took two groups of people. One group of people who habitually call themselves unlucky. You know such people? And those who habitually call themselves very lucky. Right? Nowadays, it's easy to find people who find themselves lucky. Just do a search, #blessed. Okay, these are lucky people. Profile is full of #blessed. Anyway, so they gave them all a newspaper. Very simple assignment. Count the number of photographs in this newspaper. All right. What the people don't realize is it looks like a normal paper, but it's not a normal paper. It's a special newspaper. It's been specially printed. Throughout the newspaper, in bold headings is written, this is just an experiment. Hand over the newspaper back to the experimenter and collect $100. And not just in one place, throughout in different pages and different font sizes, this is just an experiment. Stop right now, hand over the newspaper and collect your $100. The people who consider themselves unlucky were so busy counting photographs. They didn't read this. And those who consider themselves lucky were far more likely to read this and get the $100. You see, it's not about luck. When you're unlucky, you're not, your peripheral vision, you're so focused on, you're just looking at what you're reacting to life. You're not responding to life. You were asked to do something, you're just doing it. There's no imagination there. There's no spaciousness there. So when you think you're lucky, you just observe more, you notice more. So yes, you're counting photographs, but you're also thinking, what is this? You say, am I supposed to hand you the newspaper? Congratulations, $100. Great. Oh, I'm lucky. Just reinforce the idea you're lucky. So could it be that our habitual pattern of reacting to life is preventing us from seeing the magic and the beauty and all the amazing things in life? I'll give you a simple example. You go to the airport, and nowadays with COVID protocols, all this scanning this and scanning that, and stay away from each other and this and that. And it's like you're getting, come on, how tedious they've made this. Earlier flying was so simple. Now the whole process takes extra 2 hours. And on top of that, your flight gets delayed. But there's one person in this airport. You may not know this person, but there's one person in this airport who's flying for the first time. They're having a totally different experience from you. You see, for them, everything's like, wow. Like I don't know if you asked in India, I don't know if you asked your Uber drivers or any taxi or rickshaw drivers who take you to the airport. Sometimes ask them, how many times have you gone to the airport? And often they'll say, oh, sir, every day, every 2 days, I go to the airport. And ask them, have you ever flown? Oh, no. I've asked this to so many of my drivers. 99% of the time, they have never flown. They have gone to the airport more than you and I have ever gone, but they've not flown. And then they get very curious. What happens? Once we drop you, what happens? Then I tell them the whole process. Or you go to security and then you show your ID card and then you go inside and then there's a kiosk or then you have to stand in line. And they're very fascinated, right? Now imagine if one of them got to fly. They're also in the same airport as you, but they're having a totally different experience from you. For them, they're looking at, wow, how is the ceiling supported without pillars? Gigantic ceiling, right? What are all these trolleys are here? Do I have to pay for the trolley? No, it's free of cost. Oh, that's amazing. And little things that you and I might take totally for granted, that, wow, this is air conditioned. I mean, a railway station, they're not air conditioned. Wow, you don't have to pay to go to the toilet over here. In Indian railway station, you got to pay 1 or 2 rupees to go to the toilet. Because people aren't used to flushing after this. Somebody else has to do that. Just to make sure it's upkept, right? So for them, it's a totally different experience. Why? Because they're noticing different things than you and I are noticing. Experienced travelers often don't like to sit by the window. They like to sit by the aisle. Why? Easy in, easy out. I can get up and go to the bathroom if I want to. But new travelers, where do they want to sit? You know where they want to sit. They want window seat, always window seat, right? How beautiful it is. For them, everything, and they don't mind the flight being a little, they didn't even notice it's a little delayed. It's all right. Everything is fascinating for them. And we can't wait for the flight to reach, but for them, every extra minute is so amazing, right? It's a very big deal to learn how to click your seatbelt. Wow, I figured it out. And to unclick your seatbelt. These are all simple pleasures of life. Mary Oliver, one of my favorite poets, she says, wouldn't God be disappointed if we are not dazzled at least 10 times each day? Wouldn't God be disappointed if you're not dazzled at least 10 times every day? I think some of us are lucky to be dazzled 10 times in a year. So this is the shift from personality view to process view. And you don't lose your, you may think that, oh, I'll just feel like I'm, like I'm just another. In fact, your individuality comes out more. This is a fascinating thing. It may appear like, oh, I'll just feel I'm a process. I lose my individuality. It's actually the opposite that happens. Your individuality comes out much more because you're uninhibited, you see. There's nothing to protect anymore. There's nothing to uphold. There's no false self to uphold anymore. So your more spontaneous, truer self can reveal itself. What's going to happen? What is embarrassment? Embarrassment is when you're trying to project a certain image about who you are. And that's a total flop. Like whatever image you're trying to project, it's like the opposite of that. Like, oh my goodness, this is like, I said something wrong, or I put my foot in my mouth, or I did something. Why are you embarrassed? Because you suddenly imagine that, oh, now they have a different image of me than what I would have hoped for them to have of me. That's embarrassment, right? One of my teachers, Gary Craig, he teaches EFT. In fact, tomorrow I'm having an EFT session if you want to join. It's in the evening. So Gary Craig was doing a seminar, and in the break, so he had a colleague who was also helping. She was helping him. So he went to the restroom in the break, and you could hear loud laughter. He said, oh, his colleague is keeping them entertained, even on the break. Oh, very nice, keeping them entertained. So he comes out and they're all looking at him. And he realizes he went to the restroom with his mic on. So the PA system was picking up all the sounds he was making. They were all laughing loudly. I'm sure he had to do a lot of tapping on himself to come out of the embarrassment. Good. I still fight for the window seat. That's great. Okay. So how about I give you a 3-minute break, and then we're going to come back. And Eric, if it's all right, let's listen to something from you in about 3 minutes. So go ahead. Everyone take a 3-minute break if you like. Stretch your legs. All right, welcome back. All right, Eric. It'll be wonderful for them to hear you.
Nithya?
Yeah.
You can hear me okay?
We can hear you all right. And why don't you tell people where you are? Because not everyone knows where you're from and anything you want to share.
Sure. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, United States. It's a couple hours south of Chicago. I like to play music. I like to grow vegetables. I like to go fishing. I just like to live life and to figure out new things that I haven't done yet and learn to love them too. So I have some music here for you. Would you like, how long would you like me to play this for?
Whatever, you just trust yourself. And yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this is I hope you guys are okay with some slightly Arabic sounds. Here we go.
I lost you for some reason, Eric. Not sure for the others.
How about there?
You're back.
Good? Good part's coming.
كأن شمس الله ليست في عيوني، أو كأني ما حرقت اليوم فعلا، خامدا فيما أريد، أدير ظهري للظلام وللكلام، ثم أحكي دون علم بالزمان، ويهرب الوقت المدثر والمزمن من وقوفي، فأصلح الصمت الصليط بلا طريق، مثل شارع لا يصل بقول، أو كأعمى ليس يصغي لموسيقى.
I hope you all like that. I love that song. It's got so much energy. Thank you. I'm glad you guys liked it so much.
That was really energizing. So good.
Thank you.
Eric.
Thank you,
All the
Nithya.
sleepy heads have been woken up.
Yeah, that's not a very sleepy song.
That's good for the full moon night. We're getting.
Absolutely. Energy for everyone.
I know, it's great. Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Today's session is from India and Indiana.
Yes.
Lovely. Thanks, Eric.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
What was that song? He actually composed that song himself, Shunya. There was not a fixed song. So if you want to listen to it again, you got to listen to this live again. Unless Eric, is it on Spotify or something? I don't know if you've shared it somewhere. You probably make your own music, right? Can you unmute? Try.
How about that? That sound good?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yo, no, that was a track actually from, it was called Chased.
Oh yeah.
I did throw some of my own effects into it to kind of
Oh really?
let it make it a little echoey, and then sometimes kind of like a flange effect, and I take the bass in and out, and I take the mid-range in and out, and
Yeah.
I try to give it a little bit more emotion that it originally has, but yeah, that is not my track, and I did post the name of the artist on the chat. So
Abel Ray and Daniel Shen.
it's Sinawi. It should have been Sehnawi,
Yeah.
and it's their Arabic rework of the original track Chased.
Okay, good. This is Chased. Beautiful. Loved it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, the smart people in the group had already Shazammed it before you came. Good.
That's great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So not bad. A lot of you are still. Normally, when I give a break, a lot of people disappear, but most of you are still here. Quite impressive. So we talked about the 4 important places: the place where you're born, the place where you first receive the teachings that point you back towards yourself, the place where you first have an initial glimpse. You taste it. You taste that freedom that is being talked about. You taste it for yourself. And finally, the place where you're fully quenched, if that happens for you in this lifetime. So these are dullabo. All are rare. To get human birth is rare. To come into contact with the teachings and to have faith in those teachings is rare. To practice those teachings is rare. To fully realize those teachings, exceedingly rare. All of these are rare things. So yes, this is it's very fortunate that we are here and we get to practice these things. And I love this whole, the Buddha said, this is a path without grumbling. I love that phrase. It's a path without grumbling. If you're grumbling, you're not on the path. You may be on some path, but you're not on this path. It's a path without grumbling. It's beautiful in the beginning. It's beautiful in the middle, and it's beautiful in the end. I remember meeting a meditation. There was a couple that used to teach meditation for many, many years, like decades. They were teaching meditation. And then the husband died. I think it was, some old age, whatever, he died. And she had been teaching meditation, which was primarily about impermanence. Everything is impermanent, for decades, she's been teaching this. And she told me how it's fascinating. She's been teaching this for decades. And yet she can't stop thinking of him. I found that very beautiful, very real. Just because you've been teaching this stuff for years doesn't mean automatically you're above grieving. And she said, no, it's like I'm thinking of him all the time. But what was beautiful was her relationship with that. She did not judge herself for that. Oh, I should be equanimous. This shouldn't bother me. That is the reality, right? The reality is she's thinking of him all the time and she's really missing him. So I love this phrase that while it is your divinity that attracts them, it is your humanity that makes it accessible. While it is your divinity, we all have a certain light in us which attracts people. Because each one of us is a particular flavor, a particular color of the divine. Right? While it is your divinity that attracts them, it is your humanity that makes it accessible. So one thing I want to encourage in all of you is to not be too hard on yourself, to not compare your practice with how it's supposed to be. This is how it's shaping up for you. This is the way it is right now for you. There's actually no basis of comparison. There is no basis of comparison. We don't know what the starting point is for any one of us, right? So we don't know where we're coming from. Like when they teach meditation in prisons, for a person to go one day without using abusive language is a big deal. Maybe some of you here, it's not that hard to go one day without abusive language, but for them, it's a big deal. One day without getting into a physical fight, it's a big deal. So, and that's progress. For that person, that's big progress. I went one day without abusing. I went one day without picking a fight with someone. Maybe for you, it is, can I go one day without complaining? That's a good challenge for everybody. Can you go one day without complaining? Complaint-free day. I call it a CFD, complaint-free day. It's actually not that hard. The verbal one is not that hard. The harder one is mental. Verbal, you'll still, with maybe a month or two, you'll get there. Not that hard. The mental one, that could take years. Because how quickly we can mentally complain. Shouldn't be, couldn't be, why is it? I read somewhere, are you treating your mind like a garbage truck or a Ferrari car? Garbage truck, as you know, will stop at every corner and will collect all the garbage, all the dirt, and take it into itself. A Ferrari car is just going to go straight to the destination with nice music from Eric thumping. And you enjoy the ride. How are we using our mind? We talked about contrast. If you take the experiences of your life to contrast and say, okay, this is what I don't like, but what is it I really like? And you give your full attention to that, then it's becoming like a Ferrari car. If you're taking what you don't like and then hugging it and say, this is my destiny and how bad it is, then you're becoming like a garbage truck. You're making it about yourself and you're taking it too personally. Don't take things personally. Somebody had a very funny way. It's not that funny, but for me, if you've studied Buddhism, it's quite a unique way of describing. Because the Buddha talks about these three things again and again: impermanence, dissatisfaction, unsatisfactoriness, and impersonal, the impersonal. So it's called anicca, dukkha, anatta. Anicca is everything changes, everything is impermanent. Dukkha is it's unsatisfactory. You know, even getting what you want is unsatisfactory, isn't it? Have you seen how many times you got what you wanted and you were sure this is going to satisfy you forever, only to find that it doesn't last very long? Now the next thing has come. You got your dream home, but now the neighbors are too loud. Or you never realized that in the morning, the garbage dump is so close, you can smell the garbage dump, the smell coming from the garbage dump. Like, you never noticed these things when you bought the house. Later on, you realize there are too many flies over here. Like all kinds of things, like, you know, so in Buddhism, they have this fun way of saying this. They say, welcome to samsara. What were you expecting? Were you really expecting 100% satisfaction in samsara? You've come to the wrong hotel. This is not 100% satisfaction hotel. So we should expect to be a little dissatisfied. We should expect that things will not, even when you get what you want, we should expect that something will, you know, like, as you know, when you buy the new car, the most painful thing about buying a new car, that first scratch, the most painful thing. Oh no. After that, it's a little easier. The first scratch is very painful, isn't it? So dukkha and anatta. Anatta is an impersonal process. It is not a personal thing. It's an impersonal thing. So somebody had a very fun way of saying this. Everything changes. That can hurt. Don't take it personally. Everything changes. That can hurt. Don't take it personally. It's an impersonal process. One of my friends, Nepalese monk, he was invited by the National Radio of Nepal to give a talk. And he'd been giving these regular talks and he became quite famous in Nepal. He spoke very well. And so one day when he came out of the radio station, there was a family there that said, we've been waiting to talk to you. We've been enjoying your talk so much. And we wanted you to encourage our son. He's in his 20s and he had an accident and he's lost his eyesight and he's really depressed. Please encourage him. Nothing we've said has helped. Now, I want you to put yourself in that situation, right? You've come out of a radio station, you just gave a talk, and now a completely unknown family approaches you and says, here's our son. He's a young man who's lost his eyesight. Say something to encourage him. What would you say to encourage someone like this, who is looking at a dark future now? He's lost his eyesight. So I loved it takes courage to say what my friend said. He said, yes. Eyesight is impermanent. Until that point, people were saying, oh, come on, think positive. It's okay. You can do something. But no one had said something like this to him. Like, he felt so unfortunate. He said, my sight has been taken away from me. But for the first time, someone told him, eyesight is impermanent. And it suddenly struck him that he's not been singled out. Every single one of us, it's a matter of time. Either our eyesight will decline, or there will be the event of death. Eyesight is actually impermanent. Eyesight is not a permanent thing that you will see forever and ever and ever. Eyesight is impermanent. And the boy just became so quiet. He says, wow, I never thought of it like that. I was thinking it's poor me. So you realize everything changes. That can hurt. Don't take it personally. You haven't been singled out. We're all in this together. And so I would encourage you to not be too hard on yourself. I would encourage you to trust your process. And there'll be ups and there'll be downs, and there'll be clarity and there'll be confusion. And more important than teachings is you trusting your own process, trusting your own inner guidance. The whole reason we do all of these practices, as far as I'm concerned, is to get you to a place where you can deeply trust yourself, deeply trust life. It's not that you can trust me. Sooner or later, you'll be disappointed by me and by every other teacher, because none of us can match your very high expectations you have for us. Right? So don't trust me. Don't trust any religion. Trust your intuitive journey. There's a lovely book, some of you may have read it, famous book. It's called Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. And when it begins, it sounds like the story of the Buddha, but soon you realize this is not exactly the story of the Buddha, actually. Even though he's called Siddhartha. Siddhartha was the name of the Buddha before he got enlightened. But this is actually not the story of Siddhartha Gautama the Buddha, because Siddhartha Buddha is actually part of the story, but that's not Siddhartha. This is another Siddhartha. So it turns out he and his friend, they're born kind of like young princes, or at least in very affluent families. And they have this desire to seek the truth. So his friend becomes a disciple of the Buddha, and he doesn't. He just becomes a wandering mendicant. And he has these superpowers. He has a superpower of, he says, I can fast and I can wait. I can fast, I can go without food for several days. And I can wait, I'm quite patient. I can wait for 2, 3, 4, 5 days. It's okay. And these two superpowers of fasting and waiting, the whole story is how his friend comes into an organized system of the religious teaching. His friend doesn't get it, actually. He gets it. And he has all these experiences, all these ups and downs, and all these strange things happen to him. I will not reveal the whole story to you. But fascinating. And by the end, he's the one who really gets it, because it's an intuitive process. Trust your process. Your journey does not have to map or match anybody else's journey. How boring for the universe to repeat the same thing, that the same story has to happen every time. Come on. The universe also likes a little variety, right? So yours will have its own unique, you'll have your own unique quirks and your own unique stickiness and your own unique, afflictions. People, I find it very fascinating, the kind of, when people call me and they tell me the kind of challenges they're facing, I find it fascinating what unique challenges people come up with. It's amazing. A part of me is full of wonder, wow, you found a really unique way to suffer. This is a new one. I've not heard of this one before. And every day people are telling me, and it's unique, but of course at some level it's also not that unique, but at some level it's very unique. And for them, it's such a big deal. Right. So trust your process. You read Herman Hesse, I mean, Siddhartha. So the fourth, fully quenched, is the fourth place. This is where you really deeply trust life the way it is. You are not in opposition to life. It doesn't mean you don't have wants and desires. You do, and whatever has to happen. But your happiness is not dependent on them. You can have goals, you can have wants, you can have everything, but your happiness is no longer dependent on them. That's a really powerful thing. If my happiness is dependent on how well this Zoom call goes, how well this full moon session goes, I'm constantly going to be on tenterhooks. And you will also be on tenterhooks, actually, without realizing it. Because you will feel my, tell me, are you liking it? How's it going? Everybody clap your hands. So, how relaxing it is that even if right now the internet connection was to break or electricity was to go or whatever, it's okay. Like, how wonderful. You got to sleep a little earlier. How can I assume it's better for the call to go on than for it to not to go on? How can I assume that? Trust the process. Do your best and leave the rest. Do your best and take a rest. So we're talking about the full moon tonight, and I'm getting the image of, it's a clearing in the forest. And there are 500 monks and nuns sitting so quiet. And this is actually there in the scriptures. It says like they sit so quietly that it is like you cannot believe there are 500 people. And normally 500 people, you'll hear some chittering, chattering, shuffling, moving. But 500 people sitting, full moon night, can't hear a thing. So quiet. So allow yourself for a moment to feel that serenity. 500 monks and nuns sitting on the full moon night in the clearing in the forest. And there's a peace over there. It's not an imagined peace, it's a very real peace. And that peace touches you, and that peace penetrates you. And this is the reason you've come for today's session. The full moon and all these beautiful monks and nuns who are more real than anything you can imagine, sitting so quietly, you cannot believe that there are 500 people here. And each one of them has touched a certain piece, still flowing water. And you quietly go and sit near them. There's a faint smell of night flowers. And you've entered a timeless dimension. And you've shifted from being an individual to being all of these beings and the entire forest and all of life. You've gone from me to we to this. And as you're here, all the extra weight you were carrying just dissolves, just falls off your shoulders. And you come to a place of deep rest, exquisite freedom. The taste of freedom. The Buddha talked about his teachings having a taste like the ocean. The taste of freedom. Bhavatu Sabba Mangalan Bhavatu Sabba Mangalan Bhavatu Sabba Mangalan Sadhu 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 Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the reason we discuss the 4 important places where you were born, where you first received the teachings that pointed you back to your own source, the place where you had your first glimpse, your first taste, and the place of complete quenching, is to recognize that right here, where are you right now? Right here, where you are right now, this is holy ground. Right here, you can build your sanctuary. The reason we talk about these 4 important places is to remember that this is an important place because this place is ripe. This place is ripe to be the place of your full quenching. And so every place you go, energize the wheel of freedom, the wheel of freedom and the wheel of suffering. The wheel of freedom comes from recognizing through your own direct experience. It's changing, it's impermanent. There's nothing here in the outer experience that will give me lasting satisfaction. Let's not look in the wrong place for lasting satisfaction. And it's an impersonal process. It's happening, thoughts, words, actions happening. The very act of noticing it's an impersonal process makes it more coherent, purifies the stream of consciousness. Experience yourself just as life. And life is incredibly intelligent. You're dazzled all the time, many more times than 10 times a day. You're dazzled, you're amazed at the beauty in all the ways you're supported all the time. Like that person going to the airport for the first time, dazzled and amazed. Wonderful and marvelous, wonderful and marvelous. So right here is holy ground. Right here we shall build our sanctuary. There's nothing out of place. Let us have a CFD, complaint-free day, verbally first and then mentally. Let us have a GFD, gratitude-filled day, mentally first and then also verbally. And let us have a JFD, joy-filled day. Don't take life so seriously. Don't be like me, trying to make every conversation super serious. Remember to smile, remember to laugh. Don't take life so seriously. The biggest cartoon character here worth laughing at is yourself. From one perspective, you're the most funny person ever. So take yourself for the funny person that you are. Same challenge over and over again. Same thing over and over again. The same joke doesn't make you laugh, but the same story makes you cry again and again. Fantastic. What an amazing ability you have. Don't take yourself so seriously. Remember to smile, remember to laugh. JFD. And I want you to go from CFD to CFL, GFD to GFL, and JFD to JFL. Let's see who can guess. What is it? What is the L? From complaint, yeah, you got it. Life. From complaint-free day to complaint-free life. From gratitude-filled day to gratitude-filled life. From joy-filled day to joy-filled life. And that's what we want for you. How wonderful, how marvelous. How lovely. Good. With that, we are quite complete. I'm having, if you want to join, I have a tapping session tomorrow. I'll share the details in my Instagram and other places. Nithya, please write a book. It's a lot of hard work. I'm writing actually. So much time is going every day. You guys are making me work. I've shared the link on the in the chat on Zoom for some of the things that are coming up if you want to join any of them. It's because we don't grieve in this. Very true. Yeah, we don't grieve. If you were to grieve, then you wouldn't be crying again and again. Allow yourself to grieve. All right. So why don't you all take rest and be well. Let's make a big Mayurma. Mayurma is a symbol of good wishes. Take your hands up. Make a big heart. Multiply by infinity 3 times. And we say together, Mayurma, good wishes. Loving wishes for all. Nice deep breath and pat yourself on the back for making time for yourself. Very nice. How cutely you all tapping. Well done. You know, when there's nobody to hug, you can just hug yourself. All right, so ending this now. Take rest. Be well.